Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
It's just the two of us this week because young Master Bozic is in San Diego doing the Comic-Con thing, and we wish him the best. And I've already got pictures from the event. God damn you. I wish I was there.
I want to be where the people are.
Always. That's my favorite show, man. But duty called. We got an interview with, Will Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo. They're coming back on the show this week to talk about Ice Cream Man, their Image Comics anthology horror series. Well, it's not quite horror. It's whatever. It's an anthology series. It's whatever. It's closer to Twilight Zone. It's whatever they may want it to be. That first volume's out. The second volume, starting with issue 5, that issue's out everywhere now as well. Issue 6 comes out on August 15th. If you're a retailer, the final order cutoff is today. Whichever today, July 23rd, is when this thing comes out. And of course, Chris talks about his trip to Dallas, including 2 shitty roads down there. How hard it is to apparently get some delivery pizza.
You would be surprised.
And he sees 2 movies.
Yeah.
And I talk about why I don't like shorts, but not really. It gets mentioned. Yeah. But, let's just jump right to that interview. And coming back on the show, we have Will Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo. Their Image Comics series, Ice Cream Man, is back for it's in the middle of its second volume. Issue 5 is out in comic book stores now, and issue number 6 is out in comic book stores and on Comixology on Wednesday, August 15th. Retailers' final order cutoff is presumably today, so definitely get in on that. Of course, the first volume is out in comic book stores everywhere now, and you can read their previous collaboration, The Electric Sublime. Guys, thanks for coming back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks to you. Yeah.
So, with this volume, I mean, we're only 1 issue deep, but given how without necessarily giving the game away, I feel like you guys really hit the ground running with this first issue of this second collection of anthology stories. If I had to make the guess, is Volume 2 or is a recurring element in Volume 2 going to be Sinister, Escalation?
In a certain sense, yeah. There's kind of a more overt confrontation with evil things or whatever. But the kind of main goal for these next 4 issues is to actually employ some more challenging storytelling techniques.
Mm-hmm.
So each issue kind of plays with something kind of strange formally. In issue 5, it's kind of tracking this guy falling 100 stories outside of a building while simultaneously tracking someone inside the building doing the same descent but in a very different way. And that kind of play back and forth between the external and internal. I'm getting ahead of myself, but yes, there's some escalation of the sinister and the bad and the nefarious in this second volume.
Right. So, Martin, is issue 5 perhaps the most horrific imagery you've ever illustrated?
Yeah, you're probably right. It's I love that issue. It's like a descent into hell. I don't know how to call it, but I had to draw so many horrific things that it was like a challenge, but it was really fun. On the other side, there's a guy on the stairs. I don't know, you already read it, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's this guy on the stairs with the rats.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just a bit, but it was like something really disgusting that I had to draw there. But I don't know. I agree with what you were saying, like the escalation, because I think issue 6 was even more challenging in that way. It's like it was tougher to draw.
Well, I mean,
issue 6, by the way, guys, is it's definitely the best thing I've ever done. It's my favorite thing that Martin's ever drawn. I don't know if he would say it's the best thing he's ever done.
You're right.
Very different.
You're right. Yeah.
It's as different, I think, as comics on stands right now can be. And I hope we still have enough readers by issue 6 that people kind of respond to it in the way that we're hoping that they do. But it's it's a whole kind of different ballgame, issue 6.
Well, if memory serves, because you've always kind of broken down, there's almost like a, well, you could argue this has existed in the first volume too, like to that point of like kind of deconstructing the very nature of storytelling. There's almost like a scientific musical quality, especially to those last, like to issues 3 and certainly to issue 3 and 4. But if memory serves, with issue 6 being a ostensibly Neapolitan-themed issue, when you were crafting it, you broke it down into 3 separate, like 3 different running narratives, script-wise or outline-wise, Will?
Yeah. There's a lot of work that went into trying to write that script. And I put it in this charting application called OmniGrapple. And then I rewrote it just kind of in my notebook, and then kind of married the two in the kind of final typing of all of it. But yeah, it's, I don't think it's giving anything away to say that it tells 3 stories simultaneously without any words.
Oh, wow. So it's an entirely like silent issue as well.
Yes.
I'm trying to think if there was anything in like 1 week at the library. I mean, you kind of had that with the Eisner nominated, and well, because that was it Tuesday that had the that whichever day of the week that was ostensibly the quiet day, but because that was mostly silent too, if I recall.
Yeah. Monday. I think Monday. No, yeah, Monday. Yeah, I figured, if I'm going to get nominated for an award for not writing any words, then maybe I should kind of just stop putting dialogue into my issues. So,
yeah. So, I mean, which I guess in a way, to carry on the theme of escalation, builds off issue 5, which has the dual running narratives, and you could argue a third with the narration.
Yeah, with the kind of, that third narration is either the ice cream man or not the ice cream man. It's just kind of this voice in your head, and you've got these, these kind of 2 separate strands that are kind of addressing the 2 different types of horror or whatever it is that I think the book kind of plays with. The guy falling is dealing with a sort of the horror of self-realization. I think existential horror is what people called it. This horror of understanding who you are and what you've done and what that means. And then the woman inside is dealing with, this kind of what we're more used to thinking of when we talk about horror, which is, these kind of gory, horrific images and these kind of scary creatures and beings and whatnot. But it's the idea is to kind of balance the 2 and have both be, kind of as equally unsettling.
Now, Martine, one of the cool things about this entire book is visually, you start out with, well, I guess the suburbia is almost like a running thing, but with issue 3, you've got like perhaps the most psychedelic thing. Well, no, there is some really psychedelic stuff in the Electric Sublime now that I'm thinking about it too, but like you've certainly got this entire fantasy world to play with in say issue 3, and then issue 4 is kind of, you've got the hippie commune and everything. So has that kind of changing what the book can be, not only thematically but visually, kind of been an enriching experience as well?
Yes. What can I say? it's good from now and then to go back to go out from the suburbs, changing the landscape a bit with the desert and the psychedelia in issue 3. It was like something really free with all those ice cream ghosts going around and those city and that city in ruins. And with issue 5, we went to the city, and it was a lot of work, but it was fun too. I love drawing cities, so it was a lot of work, but it was fun. But the thing is, I kind of love the suburbs in Ice Cream Man. It's like it's like something a bit surreal for me. I kind of never draw anyone walking or anyone moving. It's like the Ice Cream Man and the people who goes to buy from him ice cream, and let's say I try to put it like some kind of Twilight realm, like there are not a lot of people around or moving cars or just put them when I need them to, and I don't know, like it's a bit unreal, everything, and that turns it really fun,
Right. It's almost kind of I don't know if you ever seen say Blue Velvet by Lynch.
Yes, of course. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. It has that it's familiar but otherworldly at the same time.
Yes, definitely. Or maybe Twin Peaks in some places, like I don't know, like it's something real and pretty common for you guys who live in the US, I suppose. But it always has this strangeness in it, and I love it. It's like I did some pages today of pencils and with the suburbs, and I love to draw the suburbs.
Nice,
especially in Ice Cream Man. Yeah,
yeah, because there's something like a little deadly lurking in the shadows the entire time.
Yes. Yes.
So Will, I'm a huge classic rock guy. I'm kind of named after a classic rock, well, more of a folk rock like figure, like the saddest figure. I don't know. And like
it's pretty fantastic.
It is. I love that song, but like at a certain moment, you kind of like listen to the song Sam Stone, and you're just like, well, I like John Prine as much as the next guy, but do me and my father have to have like a sit down? Like, what are you projecting onto me? But the
we should all be having sit downs with our fathers.
We should. But I'm especially after like issue 4, right? But the how did you issue 3 is a particular favorite of mine just because of it's the classic rock team up that we always like on some level dreamed of but would never get. How did you kind of settle on like what figures or what songs would kind of get the nod?
A lot of it had to do about like how, on a certain level, how recognizable the songs were. I could go either, sort of real commercial or real obscure. And I feel like most of my life I've skewed toward obscurity. And that actually hasn't served me well in terms of being able to kind of, speak to a larger swath of people and have a lot of people enjoy what I'm writing. So I kind of tried to make sure that all these people were recognizable characters from songs that, you've probably heard all of us have heard a million times over the years. But then also another part of that was how they would translate visually. If there was kind of like a fun visual joke or pun or even just like a kind of cool costume that you could think of when you thought about this person. So Captain Jack is from the Billy Joel song is pretty obvious. He's a sea captain. He wears a captain's outfit and can get you drugs when you need them. uh, Eleanor Rigby was the kind of where it all started. I just liked the idea of using the line that she wears the face that she keeps in the jar by the door, if that was taken literally. Mm-hmm. So I tried to just kind of play with known figures that could translate in a fun way when Martine drew them. Right.
And not to mention, like, Eleanor Rigby's like probably the saddest thing Paul McCartney will ever write.
Yeah, and what is my writing if not, an amalgamation of all the sad things
definitely
that you've ever listened to or read. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think it was, in a weird way, it was the issue that people responded to the least of the first 4 issues, and yet I think it's actually it might be the most cohesive of the 4 issues, in that it kind of has a pitch and things happen, and then it returns back to the beginning, and has a pretty steady tone all the way throughout. I don't know, maybe they're all kind of like that, but yeah, I love that issue, and if for nothing else, I know, speaking of talking to our dads, that was kind of my little love letter to my dad, and then the music that he kind of raised me on. So yeah, it was fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, if not for my father, there would be I would have no connection with the Beatles. I wouldn't be playing like Let It Be on the piano, or I wouldn't have learned how to play piano at all, probably.
Yeah, same for me with guitar. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, guitar was always like the goal, but all my heroes at the time, McCartney, Elton John, Billy Joel, they were all pianists.
Right.
And then eventually it's like, oh, the guitar is just chicks dig the guitar more, so I'll learn the guitar.
Well, it's I never took piano lessons, but it's kind of one of my great regrets, because piano is a fantastic way to learn music theory and to kind of get your circle of fifths down and your scales and kind of understand the way music works. And I feel like people that jump from the piano to the guitar have a pretty easy time, once they get the chord phrasings and the plucking down. Mm-hmm. And just the motor skills that are developed, doing playing with 2 hands and doing the chords with one hand and the melody with the other. It's just I think it's the right order of things to go from piano to guitar, and it's not the order that I took. So it's one of my big life regrets.
You play any instruments, Martine?
Yeah. Yes.
just any like. Well, what do you piano, guitar, bass?
Do you play
if I play
Martin?
something, no. I'm horrible with music. I can't even understand how you can create music. So it's like I'm not a musical person at all. I listen a lot of music. I sing the music I like, and I enjoy it a lot. But I do not play any instruments. Not at all. And I had a piano when I lived with my parents, but I never learned to play any instruments or sing well. Or apparently, I can't get a note right when I'm singing. So I'm like horrible with music. Sadly.
There's always rap.
What?
There's always rap.
Okay, I'm not sure I can even do that, but it's okay.
I think there's a musical quality to Martine's drawing. There's a very detectable rhythm.
Probably there's a rhythm or something, but if you say, okay, you try to relate it with music, I would get totally lost. Yeah.
Well, given issues 3 and 4, because issues 3 and 4 kind of have that storytelling rhythm, and I do love the way that, like, Martine, you and O'Halloran, like, his colors, like, they work. It's beautiful how it all kind of comes together with those first 4 issues. Really, with issues 1, 2, and 4, a lot of those were in the shadows. or there was at least an element of darkness. Issue 3 is basically like if Yellow Submarine was for adults, and then if issue 5 is kind of this really, I mean, despite the imagery, it's actually very well lit, and I think a lot of it's because you've got a dude straight up falling like Don Draper style from the top of a skyscraper, but they're all very like it's always very interesting seeing how you kind of play with color and light across these 5 issues now.
Yes, I think Chris is doing a terrific work. He's doing it great, and I think it keeps getting better. Like issue 4 was so good to me, really, really, really good. And well, in the psychedelic part of issue 3, it was amazing too. But issue 5, if you see all the scenes that happens outside, it's like he's doing it really, really, really good. I'm loving his work. And issue 6 it was a challenge for him too. So, and he did such a great work.
Yeah, it's issue 6 is for Chris as well a whole other thing.
Is issue 6 then? I mean, you had already kind of mentioned the both the silent storytelling and the tri-narrative. Is just issue 6 just going to be the most like experimental thing in the series to date?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Looking forward to it, man. I mean, this is. I say this is like as a genuine fan. It's always kind of interesting, and I always like how you, in a way, you telegraph what you're going to. Not exactly, obviously, but like thematically, you telegraph what you're going to do with just like something as simple as seemingly innocuous as the flavor. You were mentioning that issue 3 probably works the best as a standalone, and you call it vanilla. It's a vanilla story. With issue 6, you've got it. You're in Neapolitan. You've got the triple narrative, and so was that something that as you're kind of like blocking out and outlining stories, you're like, okay, this one's going to be this, or this one's going to be like Rocky Road, or is that kind of how this all kind of congealed?
I'd say that's true for issue 6 the most. I had a friend the other day asking me how I came up with issue 6, and the truth was I was trying to write for the longest time like a series about a series that employed like hyperlink cinema techniques where there was not one main character and you kind of jumped around from character to character through like visual connections, and it never worked and everything came out bad. And then when we started doing Ice Cream Man, I was like, I could just do that in one issue instead of the whole series, and then wrote it, and it turned out it was bad also. And then kind of landed on like, what if, instead of telling different stories about different people, what if I told different stories about the same person? And then it was a matter of how many stories. And then, through lots of kind of drifting off and thinking and working at it, I kind of realized that you could do a pretty fun pun and a pretty fun experiment if you chose Neapolitan ice cream. So it was one of those, lucky coincidences where I was working on something and then just the kind of pre-existing world of the book allowed the idea to take shape.
Where did the when it comes to commissioning the variant covers, because do you generally let the cover artist kind of run wild? I know in the case of Martine, certainly with this most recent issue, I remember seeing the sticky note with the stick figure man plunging to his doom. But when it comes to the variant,
By the way, nobody Google Sex Criminals number 13. It turns out it's the exact same cover.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Sex Criminals?
Number 13. My friend Frank sent it to me yesterday.
Oh, my. When did that come out?
Number 13?
I mean, probably a long time ago, but I had no idea. I've never read that book, so...
It's a good book.
Yeah, it's yeah.
So that's
It's
definitely
like a couple of seconds before our cover. Yeah.
Yeah, we could say it's like a reference to that cover. Like, just we wanted to show what would happen a few seconds later. But
you should get Chip Zdarsky to do a variant.
Right?
Yeah, it was published in October 2015. So.
And I think his is a vector image too, so he could probably he could probably just grab the guy and move him down the screen in about a second, and pretty much we'll have the exact same cover. For the variants, though, I usually write like a paragraph full of notes. I'll often also send the variant artist, if it's available, the script, not really expecting them to read it, but just in case they feel like it. Fraser, actually, he's really good about that. Fraser Irving always reads the script. I just give them like a paragraph of notes and kind of, I always pick pretty painterly people to do the work, so I just kind of want them to make something pretty, and it doesn't really matter if it ties too much into the book. But I've been lucky enough that all of them kind of land pretty close to the narrative and the themes and all that.
Right. Because, I mean, they're just, to your guys' credit, it's some of the most striking. I remember there's that image of the ice cream man, like, on the double bicycle with the skeleton, and I was like, this is the book. This is this is what this book is, That kind of like Twilight Zone, like it could, depending on what it could be Rod Serling welcome you to a feel good like story, or it could be Rod Serling welcome you to like the most fucked up thing you've ever read.
It's just really important to get a tandem bike onto a comic cover before my career's over, which for all I know could be tomorrow. So I'm glad the tandem bike made it. It was one of my big goals starting off.
And I can assure you, there are no Sex Criminals covers that have a tandem bike yet.
I don't know. We gotta check now.
I did some research. The last time a tandem bike on a cover was used was like World's Finest #8 in like 1954, and it's like Batman and Superman riding a tandem bike together.
Nice.
That's great.
Back when they actually got along, back when they didn't have back before they were frenemies, before Frank Miller broke up that relationship.
That's right.
So, with issue 6, you've got the tri-narratives. Issue 7, you've kind of got this ghost story, kind of standalone, kind of this ghost story going on. Do you see the second volume lasting 4 issues as well?
Yes, all of the volumes will be 4 issues. Mostly because it's hard for all of us to to create stuff so quickly, and we always need a little bit of a break. But they also just kind of worked out perfectly in terms of each volume. We're locked in definitely for 3 volumes, so at least 12 issues. And if fates allow, with some announcements yet to come, and hopefully just a good baseline readership, maybe we'll make it beyond that too. But yeah, it's just it's really easy, or not easy. It's just, for some reason, it just works to have 4 issues kind of line up thematically or structurally, and then kind of shoot off in a different direction from there.
And I remember a lot of the, knowing what limited I know, working behind the scenes with Image back in the day. I don't do it as much anymore, but a lot of those deluxe hardcovers would be like 3 volumes worth, or anywhere from like 12 to 18 issues. So those 12 issues would make a great Ice Cream Man omnibus, I guess.
Yeah, oh man, there's got to be a pun there somewhere, right, for omnibus?
Is there it's the Baskin Robbins edition, but there's less than 31?
Something like that.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. maybe a parfait joke. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that would be great. We have our limited edition San Diego Comic-Con exclusive hardcover at the show, I guess right now. Does it start today?
Yeah, it started today. It's the preview night today.
I think there are like 300 of them, and it's just more beautiful art from Martine and Chris. So we've already got our hardcover to our names, which is pretty cool.
And those always do, like, again, being a bit behind the scenes, those generally, people go bananas over the exclusives. So it's well-timed
That's
there.
Great.
Yeah. I'll have to see if I can. Anyway, the...
if you don't, I'll send you one.
Okay. But the... this is the first San Diego Comic-Con in like 4 years where I haven't gone. I was invited, but I've got in fact, I may be up for an Eisner myself this year. But the
hey, congrats!
Thanks, man. But
congratulations!
Thank you. It's with Santiago Garcia and David Rubin. They did that Beowulf.
Oh, for Beowulf, yeah.
Yeah. That's up for best adapted work. But I have to be a buddy. I gotta be I'm a groomsman at a wedding this weekend. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here in like Virginia, so I can't make that trip. But anyway, I mean, Martine, didn't you also do recently like She Could Fly with Dark Horse?
Yes, of course. Yeah, with Burger Books.
Yes.
The first issue came out last Wednesday.
How has it been balancing two vastly different series?
Madness. Right now, like I have 5 weeks to make 50 pages. So I kind of work in lots of hours a day because I don't want to lower the quality of the work, And but it's been great. They have some points in common. She Could Fly is not a horror story or a supernatural story, but there are some points they can be some points in common that both comics have, and it's really great to me because in a way the scripts are very different. And it's like jumping from one book to the other. It's like I have to move a switch, Anyway, and it's I don't know. It's been wild.
Well, speaking of like styles and scripts, and we had kind of touched on this, talking story structure with issue 6. Will, your day job, you're working in a lot of infographics and data crunching and visualizing data and that sort of thing. And I remember one of my favorite installments of 1 Week at the Library is like entirely. Did I just say that? Entirely.
I like it better.
Okay. Entirely. It's kind of my Valley Girl kind of making it out there. But the one of my favorite segments in 1 Week at the Library is entirely infographics. Do you kind of bring that kind of calculated precision to your scripts?
Sometimes. It kind of depends on the story and the page, really. It kind of goes page by page. I think Martine can speak to this almost better than I can. On certain pages, I'll have a layout of a room and the way people move around it, or a layout of the street and the way people move around it, kind of strictly planned out. And I'll kind of, I put these little drawings in my scripts for Martine to kind of look at, but they're still not directions. They're mostly just suggestions. The hope is always that, Martine, if he sees a better way to do something, will do it. And then other pages for Martine, I just kind of like let him do his storytelling, because I know he's a good visual storyteller and can, show, especially when it comes to people interacting, he's really good at just doing faces and the way the body is positioned and the posture of people. So there's precision on some pages, and a kind of loose quality on other pages. For issue 6, there was definitely probably a more structured approach to everything, because there were an exact number of panels required per page, and on certain pages visuals have to meet up and sort of match each other. But even then, I kind of just trust Martin to. I feel like we're at a point now. Martin just sent layouts for issue 7, and I had wrote to him saying that it's like he's pulling the images from inside of my head, because I think we kind of understand each other's work now. So when I write something, I feel like he knows what I'm trying to get at, and when he draws something, I'm sort of writing, I think, what I know he'll be good at drawing, and he's taking those words and understands what I'm getting at. I'm having trouble articulating myself, but yeah, it's just we have a very good working relationship now, where it's a lot easier to come up with, I think, a really good final. It takes a lot less work to come up with a really good final product, because we're kind of in the groove.
Definitely, yeah.
So, we've talked about what to we've talked about what to expect with this future of the series and everything. I think I have to ask my signature question now. What are you guys currently geeking out over?
Martin, you want to go first?
I don't know what you mean by kicking out.
¿Qué está disfrutando ahora?
Oh, yeah. Right now, I'm watching a couple of TV series. I'm always rereading books. I'm reading some books by a Spanish guy named David Sanchez. It's they're comic books too. Pretty strange. Pretty strange.
Mm-hmm.
It has a bit of a Moebius flavor, the art, but the scripts are really crazy. And I read El Corazón Coronado. I don't know how you call it in English. It's a Jodorowsky and Moebius comic too.
El Corazón Coronado. So the crowned heart.
Yeah, the crowned heart. Yeah. I hadn't read that before. I read it like a couple of weeks before, and I think it's great. And I don't know. I'm always rereading stuff, like Swamp Thing or probably The Authority, mm-hmm. which I'm a big fan of.
Have you been reading the new Wildstorm reboot?
No, I haven't. I always read the Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch part, and Mark Miller and Frank Whiteley, and stop there and go back to the Return. I don't know, like 1 or 2 years after. Right now I'm watching with my wife The Handmaid's Tale. Mm-hmm. And we're enjoying it pretty much, if you can say that, because it's like really stressing.
Very intense. Very intense.
Yeah. And we're watching a TV show from Argentina too on Netflix these days with all the family, with my daughters too. I think that's pretty much it.
Will?
Let's see. I'm reading a book, actually, that Karen Berger was nice enough to send me in the mail, called Eileen, by a writer named Otessa Moshfegh, or Moshfegh might be the way you pronounce her last name. She's kind of a new writer. She's got a book of short stories, and this was her first novel, and she's just she's got the goods. It's really awesome stuff. And my I guess I've always called her my wife, but we're actually getting legitimately married in a couple weeks. My fiance and I are watching Broadchurch, which we're really enjoying.
With David Tennant, right?
That's right. Well, yeah. I mean, and another Doctor Who as well, because the new Doctor Who is
Jodie Whittaker.
plays the mother. Jodie Whittaker plays the mother of the murdered child. That's the center of the entire story in season 1. A lot of familiar British actors in the show. And I just got done. Well, not technically not, because I'm still reading Multiversity. Once a year, I do a reread of Grant Morrison's entire Batman run, starting with just the Batman title, then going to Final Crisis, Batman and Robin, Batman Incorporated, all that stuff. And then I cap it off, even though it's not directly related with the Multiversity books, because they kind of tie into Final Crisis. So
yeah,
it usually takes about 6 or 7 weeks to get done with that.
I always kind of like marveled at how much free reign DC gave him, for one of their marquee characters. I mean, for something like Seven Soldiers, sure, or something like Doom Patrol, sure, but with like Batman and doing basically we were talking deconstructed storytelling. That's what Final Crisis is, right?
Yeah.
And that's like their big DC crossover event for like what 2009 is like, or 2008 or whatever, was seeing just like this weird moment where like Superman destroys the god of evil by singing the exact opposite harmonic note. Like, just saying that out loud is like, what the hell? But it's like beautiful at the same time.
And there was people really, and I haven't read that when Final Crisis was coming out was when I was still reading DC Comics semi-religiously. And people really disliked it. And, I get, speaking before about sort of accessibility and wanting to speak to a large number of people. I can understand why some readers might not be able to warm up to a Grant Morrison story. But at the same time, I don't, to this day, I haven't been as excited about issues coming out as I was when those were hitting stands. It was just a complete trip. It was awesome.
Yeah. I remember you straight up referenced Morrison's like Animal Man. I feel like we've referenced this like the third time we've referenced 1 Week in the Library, but like the last day you straight up like insert yourself into the narrative.
Yeah, and then also drew. I think I had John draw Grant Morrison himself too. Just to he's always talking about doing spells and shit. That was my little spell of trapping him in my book. That's why you don't see him that much anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he's stuck in my book. No, I'm sure he's stuck in his bed of money.
He's the editor-in-chief of Heavy Metal.
I'm going to think it twice before I drew myself into another ice cream man.
That's right. Martin drew himself into issue 5.
I'm afraid to get trapped now.
Wait, who are you in issue? I have to go back and reread issue 5 now. Like, are you dead? Like, are you one of the guys that have been like?
No. I'm watching the guy. I'm in the last panel on the left corner below.
I'll have to I'll pull that out. Yeah, the crowd when they gather around.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, yes, I have a striped T-shirt.
Oh, you have inserted yourself into your own. There's almost like a totemic quality to that. It's like now,
yes,
I am part of this.
I can say that I'm almost on every title I worked on. I always threw myself somewhere.
Have you drawn Will or Chris into any of this?
No. I need an approval from them.
Well, and Martin being trapped inside a comic book is the perfect metaphor for how the next 5 weeks of his life are probably going to go.
Definitely. I'm gonna draw the ice cream man with my face, you know.
It's like, oh, all of a sudden he has facial hair and wears glasses? Okay.
Okay.
I thought he had strawberry blonde hair and now it's darker.
He's a trickster. He's a morphing
or Luna, the main character of She Could Fly, will have my face too. We have a bird.
Martine Could Fly. That's how it suddenly changes titles. It's like, what the hell? But
also, I feel like it needs pointing out that last week Martine had a book about a flying woman named called She Could Fly, and this week a story about a guy that definitely could not fly.
Yes,
and is just
that is
falling.
a great observation. Yeah.
This is going to sound like bananas, but once I was in Vegas, and if you pay like $100, like $130, you too can jump off a skyscraper.
Oh, wow.
You're like on a line. I'm still alive, clearly, I think, unless I actually am like the Candyman. But like I did that. So I jumped off the Stratosphere Tower in Las Vegas, and
yes.
It's like, so I'm reading this issue where this dude is so calm, like he's counting the floors as he's nearing the sidewalk, and I was like, yeah, like, because when you're falling off like, I wasn't scared, I paid money to do it, but like when you jump off a skyscraper, it's suddenly, I don't know if skydiving's the same way.
But wait a minute, you jump and what happens?
You slow down around like. They start to slow you down around like the 30th floor, like gradually. Right?
It's like a bungee.
Yeah, but you're in
okay.
You don't like go back up. You're like on a line, and so it's a controlled descent. But for like 17 seconds, you're in free fall, and it's like the most.
How does it feel?
Well, it's the most calming thing because when between jump and ground, or before they start to slow you down. The only thing that exists is just you, the sky, the cityscape, and I hope I'm not like advocating like, oh, everyone should do this, but like it was for me, it was like, I don't know if skydiving's the same way because I've never skydove before, but yeah, there was just like it was a very like calming feeling. Maybe I should talk to a therapist about that. But the reading this issue where this dude is totally like just plummeting to his doom. Not that I was plummeting to my doom. I was just like, oh, he's so calm about it. I understand where that's coming from.
Okay.
I probably overshared on that one, but the
No.
I can't imagine myself doing something like that. You know. I think I died from a heart attack.
I mean, again,
I couldn't picture myself.
You see it coming.
The hope with any piece of writing is that you do flash back, to things like that as you read along in the book. I mean, that's the kind of secret way to pull people in, right? Is to kind of speak to their experience and try to kind of pull their context into the context of the story. It's a little bit like a magic trick, but it's mostly just trying to write openly and honestly, and I think that gets people to kind of tune in and start to think about their own world. So it's not an overshare. It's the desired effect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was just kind of like the weirdest. Yeah, it's just when you're in free fall. That's all. Everything else goes out the window. Maybe I'll have to skydive and see if that happens. But yeah, is there anything you guys can tease other than obviously again, Ice Cream Man #6 out in comic book stores everywhere on August 15th, and then I'm trying to remember when the next issue of She Could Fly. I presume just the week before, which would be the 8th.
Yes.
But yeah,
yes, I'm not sure about it, but I suppose yeah. It's 1 month from another.
Right. But yeah, and anything else you guys kind of got on the back burner? Anything that you can kind of talk about?
Yeah, I've got. I mean, it should become. I'm doing a small little thing at Marvel. That should, I believe, be public knowledge by the time this airs. It's just kind of a one shot, and it's weird, but that's kind of why they asked me to do it. So, because that's what I do is weird one shots. And then I am.
But you do those really great, man.
Oh, thanks, Martin. And I am continuing to do weird one shots at another publisher with an editor that may or may not have been mentioned in this very interview. So that's not going to happen for a while. So just kind of working on things slowly, but really focusing on Ice Cream Man and trying to, keep us going past issue 12.
Cool. All right, man. Well, again, the first volume of Ice Cream Man is out in comic book stores everywhere. Get that first volume, get the issue 5, issue 6 out on the 15th. Keep an eye out for the first 2 issues of She Could Fly. And guys, thanks again for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks
to you, Sam.
That was a good talk. Always nice talking to Will and Martine.
Indeed.
So, Chris, I feel like you got the most tough to talk about this week.
Yeah, well, out of the two of us, since Jake has left us for greener pastures.
Yeah, San Diego is gorgeous. So
yeah. Yeah. And I did do quite a bit this past week. I was on a long business trip to Dallas, Texas.
Texas.
Which I had to drive to because I was the one that was hauling all the equipment to the show. So that was a 3-day trip for me. The first day I made it down to Monterey, Tennessee, because I was told there was a really quaint, cute little hotel there by one of my coworkers, and it was. It's the Bethel Inn. I enjoyed it. I was only there for a night, but I liked it. Unfortunately, and this was an ongoing saga throughout the entire trip. Delivery pizza to the hotel, very scarce. I don't know what it is specifically, but there's some nostalgia with me about having pizza delivered to a hotel room. Must have just done it a lot as a child, so therefore whenever I'm in a hotel room, I'm like, I need delivery pizza. So the first thing I did was throw open my laptop and see if there was like a Pizza Hut or a Domino's around me. Nothing. So I did a Google search for pizza joints around me, and there was one across the street, and it was closed at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Closed, a pizza joint. So obviously this is a small town, so maybe that's why. Thankfully there was a Burger King in the
you're also deeper in the south.
True. But yeah, thankfully there was a Burger King in the parking lot, so I was able to get food there. But then the next morning, hightailed it out of there as soon as possible. Not because I needed to get out, but I was on a work trip. I needed to keep up, make my time. Made it all the way to Little Rock, Arkansas, the Windy City. Sorry, I made myself giggle referencing a thing that we used to do a lot. So I made it to Little Rock, Arkansas, and
City of Lights.
Yeah, the one might say the city that never sleeps.
Yeah, I was thinking my favorite pizza place, which is not in a small town or deeper in the south. It's in Clarendon.
Yeah,
closes at 10 o'clock, 9:30 on weekdays.
Makes no sense to me. It's a pizza joint.
It's a artisanal pizza.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's not
it's not like Domino's.
Gotcha. Fair. Okay.
But they have a
Which
bar
who knows?
too.
Maybe that other pizza place that I was looking at was more of a sit down fancy pizza place. As far as I'm aware, it just came up on a Google search of pizza. So who knows? But especially if you're gonna have a hotel next to you, or near you, whatever. I'm getting too hung up on the first city I stopped in, Little Rock. They did have a pizza place. They had a Pizza Hut. that delivered to my hotel, whatever vague random hotel I stopped in. 'Cause after this point, they were just all like Holiday Inns or Hiltons or something like that, Marriott's maybe. But there was a Pizza Hut, and this is what most of the story is going to be, because that's what I'm really hung up on, is this pizza. It was a saga. So I ordered pizza from Pizza Hut, got the email confirming it because I did it online because I'm a man of the 21st century, and it said that my pizza would be delivered in about an hour's time. I wait, I'm watching TV, crummy, it was probably How I Met Your Mother, because apparently How I Met Your Mother is always on when I'm in a hotel. Which is fine. I like How I Met Your Mother. It's just a fun coincidence that seemingly no matter what time of day.
I keep telling myself I'm going to buy all 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother.
Or at least the first 8.
I would say, honestly,
Zing!
If I was going to be honest with myself,
Yeah.
I would say the first 4 and seasons 6 and 7.
Yeah. While I do not remember it as specifically as you, that sounds about right. Yeah, because I think that's around the time that I fell off and then kind of just binged a couple of the seasons in the middle there, and then it got good again. So
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there's a huge drop off after season 4, and I remember watching season 6, and I'm like, oh, this is not as bad.
Yeah.
And then season 7 kind of continued, and then season 8, they're like, oh, we're still going.
Yeah.
And then we all know season 9.
I mean, I will say season 9, nice concept. I did like that it takes place over a weekend or something like
Yep.
that. I think they did that well, but that last episode is just such a whatever. I'm sure we've covered it. We've talked about How I Met Your Mother.
That show ended right before we started the podcast.
Yeah, well. Anyway, it's general consensus of all the fans that last episode sucked. And that Robin didn't deserve him. Or he didn't deserve Robin, whatever way you look at it.
They don't deserve each other?
Yeah, sure. They deserve nothing. Yeah. But yeah,
that's a Latourism.
Yeah.
I feel like I've adopted over the years.
Yeah.
When I get excited, just shouting.
You do that. But yeah, so then the pizza never came. And I called them up. I don't like to be that guy that is like, oh, it's 2 seconds late. Where's my pizza? But I gave it an extra 10 minutes, and then I called up and I was like, hey, I'd like to check on the order or the status of my order. Real nice about it. And of course, it's a lot. I'm reminded whenever I go down south that even though we're in Virginia, which is a southern state, we are not in a southern state, because we in terms of service time and stuff like that at restaurants and things like that, we are very much a northern state. We're fast paced. Stuff. We're DC.
We're the suburbs of DC.
Yeah. More so emphasis on DC than suburb in this particular instance. But yes, so I was like, oh my God, when they were just like, oh, hold on, let me check, and just 5 minutes went by while I was on the phone, I swear. And then just another person picks up the phone and is like, hey, can I help you? I'm like, I spelled out my entire problem to the first person that was on the phone. Why do you not know what my problem? Anyway, so figure out that they had some sort of snafu with their computer system, and when I then proceeded to ask, because they didn't offer up this information, when I proceeded to ask where how long I would have to wait for my pizza, he was like, oh, it might be another hour. So I was like, oh, well then please go ahead and cancel my order and refund my money. I'm going to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then went to a Popeyes in the parking lot.
You also went to Whataburger, right?
Yeah, well, that was once I got into Texas, which was the following day. That's where I had lunch. And that was the shining star of the trip so far.
The Lone Star.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. Because I was in the Lone Star State. Yeah. I don't worry, Sam. I wasn't explaining your joke for you. But yes. So I had a Whataburger, which you can have your In-N-Outs and your Shake Shacks. I will take Whataburger as my regional food that you can't get anywhere else of choice. And I ate it, and I said, "Man, what a burger!" To no applause.
We should have one of those like light up signs.
Yeah.
The applause light up signs.
For me to just be like, please clap.
Yeah.
It's like no one can see it.
That's your Jeb Bush moment,
Yeah.
right?
Just please clap.
Yeah.
In that moment, I felt what Jeb Bush felt.
Every day of his life.
Yeah, and every day of my life too. That's one thing I love about running trivia at the bar is like that I pepper in that kind of stuff all the time. You go. But the people listening at home might not. But
I feel like the most on-brand thing I do is randomly show up at trivias, usually alone, win, and leave.
Yeah.
Like without like collecting any like major prize. I'm just like, because there was that one time I won outright, and you're like, well, and I was just like, just give it to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the sunglasses. We're good.
There you go. Yeah, and it's very cool of you to do that since it was a group of people, and I think they were new people too. So,
yeah, for me it's just like let's see how well I can do.
Yeah. But so yeah, I had my Whataburger. Then I was in Dallas for the show, and that was a fine show. Most of my food was paid and bought for by the client, so that was nice. Very nice hotel. It was the Omni.
Oh, I love
something.
Omnis.
Yeah, it's Omni something or other. In
case the mic didn't get that. Oh, I love Omnis.
It was quite luxurious. It had a bathtub. Listeners at home, I am a rather large fellow, hefty one might say, and quite tall. It had a bathtub that fit me, with complimentary bath salts too. So I treated myself to a bath the at the end of the show because I was beat up and tired. And then we
Chris basically does an on the road Thunderdome.
Yeah, basically. Where I'm the only participant. I fight myself every night.
One man enters, one man leaves.
Yeah. Oddly enough, it works out that way. I am both master and blaster. And I run Bartertown. And then Tina Turner's just there following me. She has nothing to do with the show. She just stalks me.
We should all be so lucky.
Right? I'm a gypsy. It's not even that movie. It's the Who's Tommy. But so then we went out to a fancy bar that was supposed to be a cigar bar. They hadn't yet set up the cigar portion of it, but still had a nice couple cocktails. I had I forget what the fancy bar term for it is, but like a reimagined old fashioned, where instead of like a simple syrup, they used Pepsi syrup. That was pretty much the only difference, but it was still quite good, and it came in those like artisanal, or not. It came with an artisanal ice sphere, which I once heard adds $6 to the price of the drink by itself because they're like factory made or whatever you want to call it. They're not made in house; they have to get shipped to the bar. Unless this bar does it, but fucking I have an ice Death Star mold. It takes about 12 hours to freeze.
Oh wow!
Just because it's so much water.
Yeah.
It's thick with 2 C's. But yeah, so then the following day, started making my way back downtown. I don't think those are the same songs. Are they? No.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Vanessa Carlton. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
On the piano.
I wonder. Yeah. No. I can play that one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You and Terry Crews would be good friends.
Yeah. Well, I watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so I already know that.
Ooh. I heard that the reason why his character's name is Terry is because they wrote that character specifically for him, and they were like, look, if you don't take this role, whenever you watch the show, you're going to be like, man, that's me. It's literally me. It's Terry. And I was like, yeah, that works. I figured they just were like, whatever, fucking, you're Terry Crews. We can beat Terry. But yeah, it was actually like almost like an ultimatum, like, you better take this role.
He's not going to be in the Expendables 4.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
He's wonderful.
Yeah. We all love Terry Crews.
Indeed. I wish I had watched football when he was playing, since he was a Redskin for a little while. But I wasn't. I think it was early 90s anyway. I don't even think I knew what football was yet.
Neither did he.
Who?
We all love Terry Crews.
So anyway, on my way back, finally got my hotel pizza in where was I?
Sacramento.
No, it was Tennessee, far west Tennessee, or not far west, Memphis, because I sent a picture to Jake, and I was like, "Hey Jake, I'm just like Bruce Springsteen. I'm walking in Memphis." Because there was a handwritten chalk sign in the hotel lobby that said "Walking in Memphis," and it had several, I guess, references to that song. Probably, I don't know that song that well. I just know the chorus. More specifically, I know that line.
When I was walking in Memphis.
Yes, that's the one. But yeah, so got my delivery pizza. Somehow they did not relay my room number to the delivery guy, so I had to walk down to the lobby, which only slightly ruined the experience.
Lure.
Yeah, but still got to enjoy the pizza in my bed. So hooray. And then, on the way back, stopped in Knoxville for the second night because I guess I didn't feel like leaving Tennessee just yet. And then had to drive all the way back up the Appalachian Trail. Or at least the Virginia portion of it. But yeah, so the whole trip took me like 8 days because it was 3 days there, 3 days back, and then 2 day show. But it was a lot of fun. I got to see a lot of the country that I had not yet seen.
Never been to Arkansas.
I have... All 3 of those states that were not Virginia on this trip I had never been to before.
I got some stories in Tennessee. I guess I have some stories in Texas, too, but I have more stories in Tennessee.
Mm. Also, Arkansas likes to tag ARC at the beginning of, like, every city. And by that I mean, like, 3. But, like, they have Arkadelphia.
It's like a fucking, like, statewide theme park.
Yeah.
It's our gimmick.
Yeah. Hey guys, look, it's Arc Zealand. I don't know if that's an actual one, but it sounded ridiculous. There's also Texarkana, which
I knew about that one.
Yeah, I knew about that one as well. I did not know that it's like sister cities on either side of the Texas and Arkansas border.
Just like Kansas City.
Yes, with Kansas and Missouri.
Kansas, yes.
Yeah.
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 There's 2 Texarkanas.
Yeah. And I got very confused because on the way back I was determined to not stop for anything until I was out of Texas. And I was like, okay. And I was like, Texarkana. I know that like I'm out of Texas now. Why is everything still branded Texas? What the fuck's going on? And then I was like, oh, now I get it. Texarkana. Okay. So defeated. And then like it got to the point where my truck was almost running on fumes. So I was like, okay, I need to stop for gas now. And literally as I was pulling into the gas station, my phone dinged and was like, welcome to Arkansas. And I was like, fuck yeah. Made it. Because I kind of hate Texas. Like to clarify, the like 2 roads that I was on, because to get to Dallas from Arkansas, you basically are on the one big interstate, which I've already forgotten what it is. I think it's 40, but you're on that big interstate, and then you take another state route, and then boom, you're in Dallas. So I didn't really experience a whole lot of Texas because there's a whole lot more of Texas to be had. There's Houston and
Austin
and
those
other
are the
cities.
only 2 cities I've been to in Texas are Houston and Austin.
Yeah, and
I guess San Marcos, but that's not really a city.
Yeah, and there's the Alamo,
which is like in one of those cities.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Texas. All I know is that I hate those 2 roads that I was driving on, because I was in a big old truck that has, bouncy shocks, so that every time I hit any kind of lump in the road, my entire truck wiggles. And you know what? Those 2 roads are fucking littered. It was like riding on an inner tube in a wave pool the entire way, which is like 3 hours of driving. That was awful. So fix your damn roads, Texas. Other than that, Texas was fine.
Did you get any Tex-Mex?
No.
Oh, dude,
No.
it's so good.
Friend of the show, Greg, who helped us out in our early days, he now lives in Dallas, and I met up with him while we were down there, and he didn't know what chorizo was.
What?
While we were at dinner, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that's pork, you know,
It's sausage.
yeah, specifically it's sausage, but I was like, yeah, chorizo is like Spanish for, you know, like pork, you know, sausage, whatever, you know, like, haven't you ever been to a Chipotle? And he's like, nah, man, not since I moved down here. And I was like, oh yeah, it's because they have real Mexican food down here, right? And he was like, yeah, it's really good.
It is. It's so good. Yeah.
But no, we had a steak night, and the steaks were too expensive, so I had a burger.
I always wanted to go down to Texas and do the 72-ounce steak challenge, where you eat an entire 72-ounce steak, and if you eat it within like 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the establishment you're at, it's free.
There's a place there's a place that does that the boys drive past and stop at whenever they're going to the yearly Arizona show.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully next year I get to go on that show, and I will try that. I will attempt it. It's probably like I think to buy it, it's like a $200 steak or something like that.
It's not cheap.
Yeah. So I will not be expensing that if I do not win the challenge.
There was a Simpsons joke where like Homer hires a private investigator, and he's looking at all the itemized expenses, and he's like, "You spent $200 on a 72-ounce steak," and the detective's like, "Yeah, but if I ate it within 30 minutes, I would have gotten it for free." And he's like, "What the hell?"
But you didn't. Yeah. So yeah, probably a good idea to not do that, or to make sure, you know, I haven't eaten too much / have exercised my stomach. So eat a lot of grapes. Apparently that's what competitive eaters do, because they take up a lot of space, so they expand your stomach, but they're easily digested, so they don't weigh your stomach down.
Flavored ice too.
Yeah,
a lot of people do, because
I can see that.
It's just water, but it's solid when on the way. Yeah, that's what Kobayashi does.
Oh, in his Maru.
Yes, I mean, he hasn't won the Nathan's contest for a while, so sure, I guess he's very much in a no-win situation.
Yeah. Oh, we made it work. Teamwork makes the dream work.
You also saw 2 films.
I did. One of them being the new Die Hard remake with The Rock. I kind of hate myself for making that joke, because that's all people at work have been saying, and a lot of people have been making that comparison, period. But yes, Skyscraper is a fantastic movie. They do such a good job of keeping the intensity. The
Rock is just so fucking good
yes.
at picking his projects.
Oh,
or
yeah.
like adding that energy, whatever that X factor is to his projects.
Just imagine how bland Baywatch would have been without him.
Yeah. Or Rampage.
Yeah. I liked both of those movies.
Because of
The Rock. Yeah. Well, Baywatch, I also really enjoy Zac Efron, but you know, that's just me. But he's got good abs too. But Skyscraper, they just, I mean, granted, maybe it's because I'm not the hugest fan of heights myself, but like the tension, like every time I had a moment to breathe, they were like, oh yeah, but he's also dangling out this window, you know, or like, oh, but he's also got to scale across the outside so we can get to the wind turbines because there's a switch there that opens up a door that, you know, like, spoilers, by the way. Hopefully I didn't give you enough details to know. But yeah, like
they know how this show works.
Yeah.
For all you Skyscraper purists.
Yeah. Why haven't you seen it yet? It's been out for like 2 weeks by the time this comes out. But yeah, so yeah, I applaud the scriptwriter and the director, and of course, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for being able to keep me on edge for most of the movie. Like once the action starts, I'm just like, fuck yeah, I'm in. Seatbelt on. Paid for the whole seat, only using the edge. And Bono.
Nobody says Adam Clayton or Larry Mullen.
No, did they write Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark? Nah. It's only credited to Bono and the Edge. Well, the music at least. But yeah, like it was intense. The Rock, he plays a former FBI, like the FBI equivalent of like SWAT team kind of thing. Who suffered a horrible accident. That's why he's got the prosthetic leg in the trailers. And he now runs like a private security consultation thing. So this brand new skyscraper, the tallest building in the world by like 2 factors, is being opened up in China. And the only reason why they haven't opened up the residential portion at the top is because they haven't cleared security checks. So he's hired to consult with them to figure out everything, and then in so doing, gets tangled in this plot to steal something from the guy that owns the building, who's up on the tippy top of the thing. So shit just goes nuts. They set fires everywhere, and Dwayne's not even in the building when it happens, so he has to break into the building. That's where you get the poster where he's jumping off the crane into an open window, which, physics be damned. But you know what? That's what you signed up for. You saw the poster. You knew that this movie was going to play it fast and loose with that kind of stuff, and that's what made it great.
Furious. Which also stars The Rock.
And he's supposed to have a Fast and Furious spin-off movie following his character. Woo! But yeah, so it was good stuff. It was good, very entertaining. Neve Campbell plays his wife, and I hope this kickstarts. Yeah, right. I hope this kickstarts a resurgence for her career, because she has still got it. She's
Campbell Neve, because I know her.
Well, it's not Bruce or Jim J. Scott. J. Scott,
yeah. She shows up in, I want to say, the second to last or last season of Mad Men, and I was like, oh shit, it's Neve. No, it wasn't. It wasn't Mad Men. It was House of Cards, and I was like, oh. That's my story.
Because I want to say like, picking my brain. Granted, not that I'd follow her career that closely, but I was like, the last like 10-ish years, last thing I remember her being in was Scream 4. So good for her being in a movie that's probably better received by the public, even though I loved Scream 4, but that's for my own reasons. It was fun. But yeah, so hopefully she's able to get more high profile roles from this, showing that she's still able to do it. There's even a scene or two where she keeps up with The Rock, helping out with some of the action. So good for her. Then I also saw the oh god. Talked so much about Skyscraper, forgot. Oh, right. I also saw the new film Sorry to Bother You, which I didn't know too much about it going into it. Like
you weren't sorry it bothered you?
In fact, it did not even bother me
at all.
I was not bothered. This was not the bothered face. The two people out there that know the Christine Tate bit just went nuts.
It's the sign.
Yeah.
It's the applause sign.
Please clap.
Yeah.
But so or I'm sorry, not Christine, Catherine Tate. Just for those same two people that are like, rah! It was doing so well. It's fine. She's my favorite Doctor Who companion still.
Donna Noble.
Yeah.
Donna Noble.
Yeah. Now all the Rose fans are just, I'm getting distracted. Sorry. She's not even in the movie. So, Sorry to Bother You. Yeah, I barely knew anything going into it. I had seen the trailer, and I was like, this looks a little funky, a little weird. To borrow a phrase that I used earlier, it plays fast and loose with reality. It's a bit surreal, if I may. I don't want to give too much away because a lot of the allure of the movie was just like the shit that I was not expecting. But yeah, like if I remember correctly, the trailer reveals that the main character works as a telemarketer. Hence the phrase "sorry to bother you," because that's how he always starts all of his calls. And just to give a little taste of the surrealism, like every time he sits down, or I'm sorry, every time someone picks up his phone, you see his desk drop down into whatever room they're in. Almost. But into the room, where the person is that's on the other end of the line. So it's like they're having a face-to-face conversation, even though it's clearly over the phone. So, at one point, he's talking to a couple, his desk is in their living room while they're on the couch having sex. He's talking to one guy who's sitting on the toilet, and they're just like face to face, like looking dead in each other's eyes. While this man is just
only way I can.
Yeah, right. Looking at someone dead in the eye.
Yeah,
that's why you leave the door open. He at one point he shares a joint with a guy that he's selling to.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's the power of friendship.
But yeah, so and you get cameos. I guess it's more of a cameo because he has several scenes in it. But Danny Glover,
nice.
Spoiler: he even drops his "I'm too old for this shit" line.
Nice.
Somewhere in it, I won't tell you where.
Is he the one on the toilet?
No, he's not. He's a coworker.
Oh.
He's the one. The main character, much like Danny Glover, is African American. Danny Glover is the one that tells I apologize because the character's name is escaping me, but he tells him you get better results if you use your quote unquote white voice, which then Danny Glover goes to show as an example, and he is then voice-overed or dubbed, thank you, by an actual white actor to say his line.
Patrick Wilson.
It might be Patrick Wilson.
I was just making that up.
Who knows? I
don't know why I have Patrick Wilson on the mind.
Yeah.
I was just like, fuck it, it's Patrick Wilson.
He is a white actor.
He is.
He has just as good of a chance as anyone else, or any other white actor at least. Then the main character tries it, and the voice of what's his name, Tobias from Arrested Development,
David Cross,
comes out of his mouth, and it's hilarious. And then Patton Oswalt plays another guy's quote unquote white voice. So like more surrealism. Tessa Thompson plays his girlfriend, and that's wonderful. She's this really rough, expressive artist type. At one point in the movie, she has like an art exhibit where she's doing like interactive art, and like she's like just quoting lines from a movie, and she's like, I invite you to throw,
so she's basically her character from Creed.
Yeah
Grip.
But yeah, she's like, I invite you to throw all these objects at me while I'm doing it, and it's like cell phones and like tomatoes and like water balloons full of God knows what. It's wild. And there's just about halfway through the movie, it just gets really fucking weird in the best of ways, like similar to like how Get Out got really fucking weird about halfway through the movie, or like how Brazil is fucked up throughout the whole movie. I found myself, oddly enough, like weeks before this movie came out, being like, man, it's been a while since I've been like really like
seen an art house film.
Kind of, yeah. Been had my limits of surreal, reality tested beyond just, there's no way Dwayne would be able to make vault, into that open window, because physics, but actually, like, no, let's play with what's real even within the rules that we've set up in this movie. So, like, when I saw the trailer, I was like, this might be it. And then I watched the damn movie, and I was like, this is just what I wanted. And Army Hammer's in it, which that's great. I wish Jake was here to
I wish,
geek out about that.
Yeah, if Jake was here, I'd scream Maximum Hammer.
You get some Maximum Hammer. I mean, not like Maximum Hammer, but I just imitating my dong flipping out of my pants for those of you not watching. But so you don't get the hammer is not his penis, but it's his last name.
Yeah. No,
but yeah, no, he goes bold, if I may, to steal from Jake.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful movie. I kind of want to go see it again. I'm not sure if it's only playing at the Georgetown Theater.
I think it gets a wider release later.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because friend of the show and former co-host of Laserdix, Ken, he was the one that wanted to go see it, and he wanted to go see it at the Georgetown Theater. And I wasn't sure, because I didn't do my research before we left, but I wasn't sure if that was because it was only or if it was only released there, or if he just wanted to putz around DC because he likes DC ramen bars.
They're nice.
Yeah.
They're I mean, I'm biased, but yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not the biggest fan of ramen, so I'm like, what's so fancy about them here?
Yeah, I mean, it's
food still sucks.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah, I mean, there's over 80,000 ramen shops in Japan alone. They do ramen like the French do bread.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was just tainted with, bad ramen.
Tainted love.
Whoa. But yeah, no, I get maybe I just haven't had good ramen, and because of the bad ramen I've had, I'm not interested in trying. So maybe one day,
perhaps.
But yeah, so I would recommend both Skyscraper and Sorry to Bother You if you guys have a chance to see it. I would not recommend driving on that highway that I was bitching about in Texas. But Whataburger is great, so if you have to go to Texas, stop there. And I'm sure the rest of Texas is fine.
The two cities I've been to are pretty good.
Yeah, the Twin Cities.
Yeah, Houston and Austin, twin cities.
What about you, Sam? You do anything fun? I know you were in a pool on the rooftop.
I went to a rooftop pool party. I did that. That was something I did.
People saw your calves.
I wore swim trunks. It's that rarest of occasions where I say that as somebody that works out like almost every single day and wears gym shorts. So if you knew where I worked out, you could ostensibly see these fucking legs. I was thinking of like a different thing.
These yams.
Yeah, gams. Yeah.
I know where he works out. Slip me $50 and I'll tell you.
Take a picture. Like there's like paparazzi waiting outside.
Hashtag calves of stone.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty good fucking legs, but
I've seen them.
Yeah, you have the At this point, it's honestly I just like don't dig on wearing shorts after basically since like early college. I just don't. And it's kind of become like a running joke. Yeah. Like it's just like you'll just never see it.
Whereas I hate wearing pants, so as soon as I get the opportunity, I switch into shorts.
Yeah. There's no like I just don't dig on, they look fine on other people. Mm-hmm. I just like the I don't know, there's something fucking cool about.
Hey, what's his name? Jeff Davis,
the president of the Confederacy.
No. And also not the creator of MTV's Teen Wolf. Yeah. But in fact the improv comedian or stand-up comedian who was a couple times on the American Whose Line Is It Anyway, but also relatively famous for being like best friends with Dan Harmon and being a regular co-host on the Harmontown podcast. He says that he feels naked without a suit. So you're like halfway to him.
Yeah, I'm not quite like who always wears Sam Mendes always wears suits on set. So does Paul Feige, the guy that did the Ghostbusters reboot.
Yep. Whenever he is featured on the Joel McHale show starring Joel McHale, which he is a producer of, which also it means every episode.
Yeah.
He's always in a suit.
Yeah. Their rationale was, this is the job, so I'm going to wear a suit.
Yeah. Whereas I'm more along the lines of the Kevin Smith route, where I'm going to be in my comfies.
Yeah, I was about to say, where's your hockey jersey?
Those things are fucking expensive.
They are.
And I have
so
I don't have enough allegiance to any hockey team, and definitely not enough allegiance to any individual member of that team to get a hockey jersey.
Yeah, the cool thing about like getting baseball caps is it's just the team. It's like, well, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I can support my Washington Nationals.
Yeah.
Although I probably would get a Bryce Harper branded, thing, because
Unless he gets picked up by like the fucking Yankees.
Then he's
like
dead to me.
Yeah. They're all dead to me.
Soon they'll all be clean.
So that's what I did over the weekend. Speaking of being clean, thanks again to Will and Martine for coming on the show. You can get the 5th issue of Ice Cream Man and the first volume, and I say genuinely, when that book is all kinds of twisted, fucked up fun. The 6th issue is out on August 15th. If you're a retailer listening to this, the final order cutoff for that issue, if you're trying to up those advance orders, is today. And yeah, this has been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris. Thank
you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana. Did you feel good saying that? You like that?
I feel like I'm cheating on somebody. This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual Catching Up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.